I'd like to begin with an acknowledgement to the women and men of the Salt Lake City Police Department who responded to last night's shooting. Our officers rushed into danger, finding themselves in a chaotic scene. They performed heroically and as our community would expect. I am proud of our officers. What happened last night is something that we train for, but something we hope never happens. Our officers arrived not knowing if the scene was still active, but yet they immediately made sure it was safe and secure. Our officers didn't wait for paramedics to arrive. They immediately started performing life-saving efforts. They performed CPR, they used tourniquets, they placed chest seals, all in an effort to help save lives. The motive for last night's shooting is still under investigation. I can confirm we are investigating this homicide as an attempted robbery. Although this was a targeted incident involving people who knew each other, this shooting likely impacted our entire community. I am devastated for the families who were sitting down for dinner when the sounds of gunfire erupted. I can't imagine what it was like for parents at that apartment complex who had children outside playing in the courtyard when bullets began to fly. Our community is resilient, but for the sake of our children, our families, and those who visit our city, I hope we never have to see yellow tape stretched across a neighborhood again because there's been an act of gun violence. We are dealing with an epidemic in our country right now, one of gun violence and gun crime. Unfortunately, it is not new. I was with Tulsa's police chief last week at a national law enforcement conference about gun violence when he had to leave for his city after a mass shooting. I want to share some concerning numbers about gun crimes in our city for this year. There have been about 30 robberies which a firearm was used. There have been nearly 60 aggravated assaults with a firearm. And there have been more than 28 drive-by shootings in our city since January 1st. The Salt Lake City Police Department is committed to doing everything we can to reduce gun violence. The other day, officers assigned to the Pioneer Bike Squad arrested a person for illegally possession of a gun. This gun right here. This was a gun on our streets illegally. It's a gun that had not our officers confiscated, could have been used in the commission of a crime, sold, traded, or even stolen. As a community, this summer I have one ask of our community, and that is to help us. We need everyone in our community to help us prevent further gun violence. If you know someone who's going to commit a gun crime, call 911. You could be the voice that prevents the next gun tragedy in our community. If you have information about a past gun crime, call 911. Our detectives work around the clock to aggressively investigate gun crimes. One tip is all it takes sometimes to solve a gun crime. And finally, I want to remind our community about our city's gun buyback program. That's happening this Saturday, June 11th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is such an important event. It gives our community the chance to take action and turn in firearms they no longer wish to have. This is a no questions asked event. I hope our community will consider taking us up on this offer. We have said it over and over. Enough is enough. Stop with the gun violence. Let's come together and do everything we can to keep our community safe. Thank you. I'll now take a few questions. Yes.
Hi, Emma Workis with Axios. Between 2016 and 2020, fatal firearm assaults in Salt Lake County have increased by 41%. What do you believe is driving that increase?
The prolific amount of guns on our street in the hands of criminals and those that shouldn't have them that are willing to pull the trigger.
How much is just spur of the moment? I mean, how much planning really goes into the gun violence? How much is it, I have a gun, so I'm just going to use it spur of the moment?
Well, look, in the last 2 years, more guns have been sold in this city and across the country than in recent history. More guns sold, more guns stolen in burglaries, in car prowls, more guns in the hands of people that shouldn't have them. If that occurs, I mean, that has become the conflict resolution tool that we know now. People are solving conflict through pulling the trigger and firing a weapon.
So how do you prevent that? What else can you do other than just ask people not to use it?
Well, it's going to take an all hands-on approach. It's going to take, I mean, there are many components to the criminal justice system. I think we all have a part to play, but we're going to have to do more to prevent this type of gun violence in our communities.
And that gun you showed a picture of, where's that coming from?
I'll get you that information right after, but it was a case that the Pioneer Bike Squad worked on.
Could you get them stolen, car, or anything?
I don't know the details on that one right now. You had one right here? Hi.
Have any arrests been made in the last 6 years?
No, they haven't. Not yet.
Chief, can you kind of walk through last night, how it all started?
So we just provided that information in the press release, and so I think that's going to have the most knowledge.
Right now, because it's under investigation, we're going to hold to that statement right there.
Chief, I want to kind of piggyback off Pat's question here in terms of what else you are doing. Mayor Mendenhall today in her mayor's conference in Reno said that the majority of the mayors there believe that the age to purchase a gun should be raised. Do you agree with her in that the age limit should be raised? And beyond the buyback program, what else is your department doing?
Well, okay, the first part of your question, yes. I don't see why we allow an 18-year-old to be able to go in and buy an assault rifle and the ammo to fire that weapon with. I think we could raise that, and that could be a very responsible act to do in our community. The second part of your question is we were doing everything we can proactively. We do a lot of proactive work in these areas. We make a lot of stops. We confiscate a lot of guns that really don't ever make the media. But we take guns off the street each and every day through very, very strong proactive police work.
Any idea how many this year so far you've been able to confiscate?
I don't have the exact number, but I can certainly get it to you.
So Chief, to clarify the answer here.
Yeah.
You believe the age limit should be raised just for the purchase of assault rifles, weapons, or for all guns? For 18 to 21?
I don't know. I tend to think that maybe we ought to look at it for all guns. I mean, maybe with parents' permission or whatever it may be. I think it needs to be very responsible and something that we do as a community to look at, who gets those guns, at what age they are, and how they're handled and how they're taken care of. We need responsible gun ownership.
One more question?
Yes.
Chris Arthur. Question I have to do is, obviously, some places trying to upgrade the summer. Others are coming out today to try to get ahead of some of this. Summer months coming up.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. We've anticipated it. We've put more officers to the street. We've put officers very strategic in some of the we call them hot blocks within our community, through the community here, to work on some of these things. So it's something that we know is going to occur, and we're trying to do everything we possibly can to mitigate that. But the number one thing we can do is partner with our community to prevent these type of gun violence situations and to work on reducing all crimes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.